Cut the thread! My name is Lori and today we're going to make the Alice dress. The Alice dress is wonderfully versatile. You can dress it up with some heels, dress it down with some sandals, put a shirt underneath to be warm in the winter, and just love it all year round. In this video we're going to explain step by step how to make the Alice dress. You do however want to use this video alongside the written instructions, which include pictures step by step of how to construct the Alice dress. Now this kit includes 3.2 meters of beautiful viscose fabric. Now this fabric is truly gorgeous. It's lush to the feel and it was designed by Mind Maker out of Denmark. Not only is it a beautiful floral design, they've also made every effort to produce it and source it as sustainably as possible, and you can find more information of how they've done that on their website. As we are making this video today, there's two colorways. There is a beautiful navy with an ochre floral print, and then there is a beautiful sienna, more rust color with a pink floral print. Both are absolutely gorgeous, and we hope to add more colorways in the future, so keep an eye out for that. Next to the fabric you've chosen, we provide matching thread, and we also provide lightweight interfacing, which is an ideal match for this viscose fabric. We specifically use this in the sleeve bands to help the sleeve band sit up more straight and to give it a bit more sturdiness to a part of the garment that can take some strain. We provide you with a printed A0 pattern as well as a PDF version of this, which means that you can reprint the pattern at your heart's content. You will also find a new sewing needle for your sewing machine. So the reason that we do this is that often after we've had a needle for a while, they can get a bit dull, a bit less sharp, and that can kind of create holes or even pull threads in our projects, in our garments, which is such a shame after we've put so much work into it. So we would also always like to start a new project with a fresh sewing needle, and so we make sure to provide that for you. And of course we provide you with sewing instructions. The written instructions explain step by step with pictures how to construct the Alice dress, and then we have this video tutorial as well to hopefully provide even more clarity. If that turns out to not be enough, if something is unclear or you're stuck, do feel free to reach out to us. You can reach out to us across our social media channels or on our website, or just email us at hello@cutthethread.com, and we're always here to help. In addition to the Alice kit, you will of course need your sewing machine. And next to that you will need some pins or wonder clips if you're worried about poking holes in your fabric or just prefer using wonder clips over pins. You also need a measuring tape. You will need a way to cut your fabric. That can be fabric scissors, that can be electric scissors, and that can be a roll knife as well, whichever method that you prefer. A note on other tools. These tools we sell in our modern haberdashery are not necessary tools that you have to make this project, but just tools that we believe that the modern sewer will greatly enjoy using when sewing. So for this particular project, we would actually like to talk about the hot hammer. Now it comes in two different shapes, in a long and in a short shape. But both allow you to measure, iron and fold fabric at the same time, which greatly speeds up the process. We do have a video up on how to measure yourself and find the size band that you should make. It is up on our YouTube channel and on our blog. To prepare the fabric, we want to wash it 30 degrees and then dry it as flat as possible. We don't want to tumble dry the fabric to avoid excessive shrinkage. The reason we always want to wash our fabric before we got into it to make a project is that on average fabric will shrink about 5 to 10% on our first wash, and it would be a real shame to sew up a gorgeous garment and then have it shrink 10% in the wash and no longer fit. So we want to make sure that we wash it first. After we've washed and dried the fabric, we wanted to give it a good press and get as many wrinkles out as possible. The more flat and straight that we can iron the fabric, the easier it will be to cut out. Now viscose in general is this beautifully fluid fabric, but that also means that it can be a bit slippery. So to cut out the fabric, one of the ways that we can make it easier on ourselves, apart from giving it a good press and a good iron, is that we will actually pin down the selvages. So we will pin down the selvages on the side as well as on the top. And then we want to align the fabric as much with the sides and the top of your table as you can, so that it becomes a very nice rectangular. That will make it easier to cut out your different pieces. For cutting out your pieces, do take a good look at the cutting diagram where we advise on how to most efficiently cut out the different pieces. We do advise the use of a walking foot with this viscose. For some of you, that will actually be part of your sewing machine. For others, this might be an investment piece. If it is not something that you have right now and you want to go ahead, we would just want you to be mindful of the fact that viscose is slippery and it can sometimes do this. So just be mindful as you're going along. Step 1. If you have a walking foot, now would be the moment to put it on your sewing machine. Step 2. For step 2, we're going to take the back and front facing pieces E and F. We're going to put them right side down, wrong side up. We're going to iron the outer edge 0.5 centimeters inwards. We're going to do that for both pieces. Step 3, we're going to match the front body with the front facing and the back body with the back facing. We are going to pin and then sew along the edge. Please keep in mind that the seam allowance is 1.5 centimeters. Step 4, iron the facing away from the body and cut notches into the seam allowance. You want to do that so that the neckline can sit nice and flat. Step 5, match the front to the back of the body, right sides facing. Then you want to stitch from the edge of the shoulder to the rim of the facing. And finish the edges using your preferred method. A note on finishing edges. If you have an overlocker, you can use your overlocker to finish up the edges. If you don't have an overlocker, you can use the zigzag stitch on your sewing machine. What you want to do is make sure that the right side of your zigzag stitch kind of comes outside the fabric. That way the stitches will tighten neatly around the edge of your fabric. Step 6, we're going to finish off the facing by folding it back inside, ironing it so it's nice and flat, then pin it, and then we actually want to top stitch along the outer rim of the facing. Step 7, we're going to gather the sleeves both at the top and at the bottom. A note on gathering. There's two ways really that you can go about it. You can use your sewing machine or you can do it by hand. Whether you do it by hand or do it by sewing machine, you actually are going to stitch 3 lines. You're going to stitch a line close to the edge of your fabric at say about 0.5 centimeter. Then you're going to stitch a line at about 1 centimeter, and then you'll stitch a line at just above 1.5, say 1.6, 1.7 centimeters. And what happens is that you then will pull on those threads so that the fabric kind of bunches up or gathers, and so that a larger piece of fabric fits within a smaller piece of fabric. And then you get these folds essentially. Now when you're using the machine, you want to put that stitch length up as high as it possibly can, and then you're going to leave both ends of the line untethered. The advantage of gathering with the sewing machine is that you get very fine and even gathers. When you're hand sewing, you actually have more control over how big or wide you want those gathers to be. You can even vary them. As an example, we have done both. On the blue dress we've gathered by hand, giving these lovely big gathers. And on the red dress we have done it with the sewing machine, which has given us these lovely even gathers. Either way, it's up to you. Hand sewing takes a little bit more time, machine sewing does go a little bit faster, but it's really down to the effect that you want to achieve with the garment that you're making. Step 8, we're going to set in the sleeve. So you want to match that middle notch and the other notches. And then you're going to gather the fabric in between the notches. And what you want to do is use lots and lots of pins. The more pins, the easier it will be to then sew. You then will sew, and then you will finish off the edge using your preferred method. Step 9, we're going to prepare the sleeve band by applying some interfacing. We're doing this to give some sturdiness to the sleeve band. So using the same pattern piece that you've used to cut out the sleeve bands, you're going to cut out 2 pieces of interfacing. Then you will put the fabric right side down and apply it and put the interfacing with the glue fabric down on top. Then you want to find a piece of cloth, piece of cotton, old cotton, an old bed sheet, something that you no longer need, and put it on top. You never ever ever want to put your iron directly on the interfacing. It will do bad things to your iron. And then you want to apply pressure. You don't really want to glide across with the iron. You want to put the iron down, apply pressure, lift, put it further down, apply pressure, and go on like that until the fabric is glued and applied. Then we're going to fold the sleeve band in half with the wrong sides inwards. And then one side we're going to further fold the 1.5 centimeters inwards and iron that as well. Pressing this right now will make our job a lot easier later when we're finishing the sleeve band. Step 10, we're going to attach the sleeve band. So we want to match the sleeve band to the bottom of the sleeve, right sides facing. Then we want to gather the fabric together until it's nice and flat. Apply lots and lots of pins, and then you want to sew along. Step 11, we're going to make the waistbands. Now we're going to fold the waistbands in half and put a couple of pins in them. We don't want to iron or press it at this point. That will just make our life harder later. So we're going to fold it in half, and then we're going to start stitching at the short side. We're going to stitch until we get about 1.5 centimeter from the edge. And we want to put our needle down, turn the waistband, and then we'll stitch all the way along the length and then fasten at the end. Next, what we're going to do is we're actually going to trim that down. We want to trim the side, the edge, and then also the corner. And then we're going to turn the waistband inside out. The ideal way of doing this is using something that has a stick that has kind of a blunt end to it, like a knitting needle with a round end. You definitely don't want to do this with something that is pointy at the end, or it will just break. It'll just go through the waistband and it'll just rip it, which would be a shame. So make sure to get something with a blunt end. A sushi or something like a chopstick would also work really well. Once turned out the right way, we want to iron it carefully so it sits nice and flat. Step 12, we're going to pin the waistband in place between the front and the back bodice on both sides. We want to be really careful that the waistband sits away from the edges so that we don't end up sewing over it. Step 13, we're closing up the bodice by putting the front on top of the back. The waistbands are already in place, and then we're going to use lots of pins to keep everything where it should be. And then we're going to stitch along and finish the edges using your preferred method. Step 14, we're finishing the sleeve band. So we're going to fold the sleeve band inwards, and then we're going to fold the further 1.5 centimeter inwards as well. Now this should also hide the seam allowance inside the sleeve band. There's two ways that we can finish it now. We can either use our sewing machine, or we can finish it by hand using an invisible stitch so that you do not see any stitching on the outside. If you use your sewing machine, most sewing machines actually have a detachable part so that you can put sleeves over the sewing machine so that they're easier to sew. So if you have that, you want to take that off, put the sleeve band over the sewing machine, and then you want to top stitch along the edge. Step 15, we're going to start working on the skirt. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to gather the two skirt pieces as we did with the sleeves. So if you prefer to machine gather, go right ahead, or if you want to hand gather, it is up to you, but you want to do it the same way as you did with the sleeves. Step 16, you want to place the pockets along the notches. You want to pin it and then stitch it in place. Step 17, we're going to flip those pockets out. We want to iron, and then we're going to stitch along the edge. Step 18, we're going to actually make the skirt by putting the front piece on top of the back piece with the pocket still facing outwards, and then we're going to stitch all along the edge. We want to make sure that we don't stitch the edge of the pockets closed, or you will have no pockets. Step 19, we're gonna attach the bodice to the skirt. Now you want to have the skirt inside out. You want to have the bodice the right way out. And then we're actually going to put the bodice inside the skirt so that the right sides of the fabric are facing each other of the bodice and the skirt. Then we want to match all the different notches and the side seams, and then we're going to pull on the gathers to match the fabric. Again, use lots and lots of pins, which will greatly help. And then you want to stitch and finish the edges using your preferred method. Step 20, we're going to hem the dress. Now before we do that, you actually want to try it on. Put it on, give it a twirl, see if you like the length. If you want it a bit shorter, now is your moment to cut it a bit shorter. But do keep in mind that we do need 5 centimeters for the hem, so it will be 5 centimeters shorter still. So when you've decided you like the length, we're going to fold the hem over 1 centimeter and iron, and then fold it over again 4 centimeters and iron. The use of the hot hammer makes this a lot easier, as you can measure, iron and fold all at the same time. If you don't happen to have a hot hammer and you're getting quite frustrated, another trick that you can use is that you can actually find a piece of cardboard from like a cereal box, for example, cut off at a straight line, and then put a 1 centimeter and a 4 centimeter line. And you can also fold and iron over it, but just be a bit careful because cardboard doesn't like to be ironed over as much as a hot hammer does. Finally, you want to top stitch along the top part of the hem. And you've done it. We're so proud of you. Thank you so much for sticking with us and for making this beautiful Alice dress. If you have any feedback, comments, ideas, or just want to share anything, please don't hesitate to contact us. You can follow us on social media, you can contact us via the website. We are here for you, we want to hear from you. We're so proud of you, and you know, time to celebrate. Go enjoy!